about the injury. It's not about the injury. It's about the recovery. It's about the recovery.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Paul Padda podcast, coming to you from Red Chimp Studios. Very honored today to have a really interesting guest, Ross Bryan, the head of the director of the UNLV Military and Veterans Center, which I was learning about before the show started.
Yeah.
Welcome on the show, Ross.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit, and tell our viewers a little bit about your background. We always like to start every new podcast with some background information on our guests.
Sure.
Tell folks how long you've been in Vegas, what brought you here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first off, I'm retired Army.
Okay.
I grew up in a Navy family. My grandfather, my father, my uncle all went to the Naval Academy.
Oh my goodness.
And I was one of 5 kids in the late 70s.
How did that go over with your family, Navy family, and you end up going to the Army?
So I enlisted in the Army to drive tanks and leave the farm and go to Germany, which sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, that does sound very cool.
Until I found out that the entire Army outranked me and all the fun jobs were mine personally on the weekends. And I had some great mentors in the Army who said, look, if you're going to make the Army a career, which I wanted to, why don't you get out, go to ROTC, which is a commissioning source on any college in the United States that has ROTC, and earn your commission. So I did. I got out. And then long story short, I got a call that said, you made the majors list. You're going to stay for your 20. Would you like to do your last assignment and come to UNLV in Las Vegas and open a closed program? So I arrived in '98 with an AT&T calling card and a van. No program, no cadets, no troops, no
Built it from scratch. That's you're a real entrepreneur.
So yeah, with a federal paycheck.
Yeah.
So built that very successfully. At the time, I didn't realize that was also networking for me.
What year was this now?
This was in '98.
Okay.
And then in 2005,
It's hard to imagine that in 1998 there wasn't an ROTC program at UNLV.
Yeah, it had closed in '92 during because the Army was drawn down.
Right.
And so then they reopened it, and I was the one who got to restart it.
Okay.
So when I arrived, we did that, and then the war happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, obviously 9/11, and that resulted in more recruiting and different things, and we commissioned 77 officers from UNLV that have now gone off and served their country, had more than 5 or 6 deployments.
Wow.
Many of them are majors and colonels now serving around the globe.
That's fantastic.
Through the miracle of Facebook, I'm still in touch with them.
You must be incredibly proud of those.
Yeah, very much so. He reached out to me and we had just a cup of coffee, and he said, what are we going to do with all of the vets coming out of the service with the new GI Bill, which is basically $65,000. It pays for your education, gives you a housing allowance, a very robust benefit. To give you an idea, 1.5 million vets are using that benefit today.
Wow, that's
and
great.
we grew from 300 vets to 1,800 vets now.
Jeez.
And so I run a vet center with 27 staff members, 6 employees of UNLV, the rest are student veterans with the stipend from the VA.
So let's break that down a little bit. First of all, there might be a veteran watching who's interested in knowing more about your center.
Okay.
Where would they find you? Obviously on the UNLV campus, but what about on the internet?
Yeah, so if you go to unlv.edu /veterans, you will see our website. And on that website, it'll also have a series of 5-minute videos on how to navigate the VA and get your benefits started.
Oh, that's
and then
great.
what documents you need to bring to UNLV or any campus.
Okay.
And then how we process your stuff to get you paid.
Give folks that website again.
So it's unlv.edu /veterans.
Is there a phone number?
There is, 702-895-2290.
Excellent.
You could also email me at ross.bryant@unlv.edu. And veterans love checklists. I will send you a massive checklist on what you need to do.
That's awesome. You know why? Because I do a lot of what's called Federal Tort Claims Act cases.
Okay.
Sometimes, I'm in the unenviable position of having to bring a case against the Veterans Administration based upon malpractice type issues.
Yep.
But, a lot of veterans just are confused about where to turn for help, and I'm not talking about necessarily a lawsuit, that's more of an
Yeah, I
extreme
understand.
example.
Transition stuff.
Transition stuff, just like how do you get the benefits?
That's a great question. So here's what we do. At our office, and we're nationally recognized, not every school has been blessed to get the university support to have the staff we do.
Yeah.
So what we've been building over the last 7 years is, let's say you're getting out of the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I would contact you and I would let you know what you need to do. I would show you videos on our website. Then when you would arrive, let's say in August to start school, we would invite you to a sponsored pool party at the Flamingo with Caesar's Salute Program, which are veterans working.
Now, I'm sure, like, if you were running the Veterans Center in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is a beautiful place, I'm sure,
Would not
it
have
doesn't
that.
have the same,
But
cachet.
when you come here in August, it's 110
That's
degrees.
true. That is true.
So first off, you have some anxiety. How does this work? How will I get my bills paid? I got kids. I need a part-time job. We invite you to meet at that pool. You end up meeting veterans working at Caesars who have transitioned to careers,
Yeah.
who are rebel vets
Sure.
from our school, the Hospitality College.
Mhm.
You then meet the team of student vets going to school that work for me.
Yeah.
You meet us, and then some of that anxiety goes away. Now, the other reason we do it is because we've had 4 suicides.
Oh, jeez.
So 3 of them were combat guys who were isolated,
Mm-hmm.
who we didn't know they were hurting. It's really basically an act of loneliness.
Yeah.
And so we have lapel pins like I'm wearing. We have T-shirts. We have that pool party, because when you meet other vets, there's an instant bond.
Of course.
And so I was in Iraq or I was in Afghanistan, all the stories start happening. But then there's a bond and a trust that, hey, look, I know I can call Ross in the middle of the night when I have a challenge, that he will make sure the right person is
Yeah.
basically teed up to help. So we do that, and then we've had a 600% growth with no advertising.
Wow.
It's been word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So we get recognized by the federal government for our services. We just had a VA inspection, a routine 2-day inspection that the team, despite having to get everyone ready for this semester, it landed the week before school, and we had a no discrepancies noted 2-day inspection. So all that's on websites, that when you're thinking about a school you want to go to,
Yeah.
you want to go to a school that gets everyone paid on time.
That's very true. That's a great point. All right. On that note, we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
This is a section or segment of the podcast that we call Paul Padda for the People, where we throw out some tips, and we'll be right back with some great more conversation on this really important topic.
All right, very good.
Paul Padda for the People with another pointer. Today we're going to talk about aggressive drivers. Do you know that 65% of all fatalities are caused by aggressive driving? It's really kind of startling and rather unbelievable, but we've all experienced it. We've all been on the road where someone has cut us off. We've all been on the road where someone has engaged in aggressive behavior, either speeding, tailgating, following too closely, just all around aggressive behavior. And then they have the nerve to give you the finger and act like you did something wrong. Listen, I'm a lawyer. I've experienced it. I've seen other people react to it. The best thing to do if you are encountering an aggressive driver is to avoid that person at all costs. Not only can it cause an accident, it could actually lead to a fatality. As I said, 65% of all fatalities are connected to aggressive driving. These are drivers that you want to avoid at all costs, and the best thing to do is just avoid them, de-escalate the situation, do not react. Paul Padda for the People.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Paul Padda podcast. We're here with Ross Bryant, learning a lot of really interesting things about the UNLV Military and Veterans Center. I was not even aware what an amazing resource this is. And first of all, let me just say I have the highest respect for anyone that served our country. And a lot of these vets come back, you know, you used the word earlier, transition, and I thought that was such an interesting term because I have friends who've served our country. And when you go into the military, it's a complete different lifestyle.
It is.
I mean, to call it a lifestyle is really not the right word. It is service in its purest and highest form. You literally are there to put your life on the line for the country. You do what the military asks. You get deployed to dangerous places sometimes if we're in a conflict situation. Yep. And then, you know, the discipline that comes with military life, coming back into a civilian setting, transitioning back into it. There's so many things out there. A lot of veterans have kind of been out of the system, so to speak. But in my opinion and experience, some of the most highly qualified people, I mean, you're getting folks who come out with amazing discipline.
Correct.
Compared to the average workforce, I find. But how do those people transition back into society? And that's ultimately really what you're doing with this vet center, correct?
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
And I tell people it's like being on a Super Bowl team with very high stakes.
Yeah.
And then when you're part of that team for 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, and let's say you get injured and you can't be on the team anymore, it's no different than an NFL player that can't play football anymore.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
then you have to figure out, what am I going to do in life where I am jazzed to get out of bed in the morning. In that realm, though, we make a difference, a couple different categories. We have 400 women vets that are at UNLV.
Fantastic.
And the thing is, they blend in. You would not be able to pick them out of a crowd. And they also don't get recognized as much.
Right.
I could walk in with my lapel pin, someone says, welcome home, thanks for your service. I could be standing next to a 20-year female vet, and then someone will ask her, were you the spouse of somebody? And so we learn not to do that.
Great.
Now, personal stories that make a difference, I'll
Yeah, that's
change
what I
the
like to hear
names.
about. Give me an example of a story.
Here's
where
an
you
example why
transformed.
UNLV makes a difference.
Okay.
There was a young airman who was a sergeant in the Air Force, a young sergeant, and he was an air traffic controller. He was the guy in the tower making sure planes and jets
Extremely
landed
important
on time.
job, yeah.
So because he was on shift work, this is amazing. I'm an Army guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very hard to go to school when I was in the Army, but I did. But this guy, because of shift work that didn't change, he could take the night shift and go to school at UNLV full time.
Mm.
So now he's a full-time student in 2003, and he is just doing his thing. His mom lives in town. He's from this town. He gets told, hey, we're going to invade Iraq, and you are going to be an air traffic controller for the 101st Airborne Division in the Army, and they are leaving Kentucky in 7 days,
Oh my goodness.
and you're going to Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
So no vet center back then.
Right.
So he kissed his mom goodbye, put his stuff in storage, reported to Fort Campbell, and deployed to 15 months in Iraq. So now, 13 years later, from the time he went to Iraq, he arrives at UNLV, and what does he find out? That when he left in 2003, he got 5 Fs. Those 5 Fs destroyed his GPA to where he can't get into UNLV.
Oh man.
On top of that, he owes $3,800 from a Pell Grant that UNLV had to pay back to the government. So we were able to, 13 years later, because we now help people on deployment. If you had orders now,
Yeah.
I could freeze your record, make sure there's no economic or academic impact.
Mm-hmm.
We retroactively, UNLV ate the money,
Okay.
$3,800, just wrote it off and welcomed him home. And then the faculty senate removed all of his Fs and withdrew him
Yeah.
and gave him a
Clean slate, so to
gave
speak.
him a refund of about $2,000 that he paid 13 years earlier.
Wow.
That guy is now in graduate school at UNLV.
Wow, what a great story.
Now that guy goes around telling everyone,
Yeah.
man, you got to go to UNLV.
Yeah.
Another story is we had
I'm proud of UNLV just living here and hearing that story. What a great school. That's
yeah, and so it's
fantastic.
my staff and I that are the champions that go,
Yeah.
you know, we had some faculty senate say, well,
You're advocates.
why did he leave school? Well, he had orders to go.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
not like an option.
No, exactly.
And so,
Seems crazy that anyone would even debate that point, but
yeah,
you
well,
know.
but you know, we live in a great country, but we're under a
best.
volunteer system this war,
Yeah.
first time ever that 1% serve.
So let me just veer off topic for a second, because this is kind of something I've always wondered about. Do you believe in the concept of mandatory conscription into the Army?
I do not,
Okay, why is that?
because the Army had that before I joined, and it was a disaster. What I do believe in, and this is just Ross Bryan speaking now, I believe there should be a national service program, not a draft,
Yeah.
where every kid in America, 18 years old, I don't care what financial background, rich, poor, middle class, every kid should have a mandatory 18 months of service in some category.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you want to work at the national park and do trails, great. If you want to help with hospice care, great. You want to help with Boys and Girls Club, fantastic.
Yeah.
You want to serve in the Army and you qualify to get in, then you stay 4 years and you get a giant GI Bill.
Yeah.
Everyone else would get a similar GI Bill that would at least pay for community college. So it's
That's
not
true.
free college.
Yeah.
It is service-oriented
Right.
college. And then you have gone out and done some sort of service for the nation.
I think that's a great idea. I agree with that.
So,
Plus, especially now that you see, kids struggling with the weight of financial debt going to
Correct.
school. Yeah. So we have to come up with a system.
and
that
there's
will
more than
alleviate
enough things to work on.
That is true. That is true.
And so I don't think that would ever fly, who knows. But that would be my concept. The graduation rate is close to 70%, whereas a freshman kid at UNLV, it's about 39%.
Yeah.
Part of that is not everyone's ready for school right out of high school.
Sure, that's
So
right.
these folks are coming after they've had a chance to serve and decide what they want to do. So all of that is very fulfilling, and then a lot of those vets are then going into business, running for Congress. 77 vets got elected,
That's
both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Many of them are Iraq, Afghanistan vets.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, the more veterans we have in Congress, the more foreign policy and more of a global perspective we have.
I think that's very true. Very true. So the veteran who's watching this show, who let's say is, they're doing okay in life.
Yep.
They're thinking, you know what, I probably could go back to school, or I'd like to learn a new skill. What can they do to get in touch with you, and what can your center do for them immediately?
Well, let's talk about three categories. If you got out recently within the last 15 years, you have benefits that you could come and check us out and figure out how to get started.
Okay, so they may be eligible for benefits they aren't even aware of.
Right?
Okay.
Now, let's say you know that you got out 15 years ago and didn't use your education money. It's now gone away.
Yeah.
So now you don't have any benefit. But if you have a 20% disability, it doesn't mean you were shot in combat, just a 20% rating, you can then qualify for that vocational rehab that I talked about, where you then do your packet. If you get accepted, you then do an economic impact study of the job you want to do, and if approved, the VA will pay for your education to get that. Or a trade school, if you want to be a truck driver, if you want to be a paralegal, if you want to be whatever you want to do, they would be able to try to help you. Now, the other thing is, we were able to help with legislation across the country. Many organizations did this. Older veteran organizations helped with this. They now changed the GI Bill. In my generation, it was good for 10 years. If you didn't use it, you lost it.
Yeah.
Then during post 9/11, it was 15 years. But here's the thing, a lot of those guys and gals get out with kids.
That's true.
And they're young kids, so they can't go to school right now. They need a job, they have to go to work. Now the kids are teenagers, they want to go back to school. The new GI Bill is called the Forever GI Bill.
Okay.
And that GI Bill, if you got out today or any time after June 1st, 2013, your benefit is good forever. So if you end up going back to school at 50, 20 years from now, you would still have your benefit.
I think that's a great idea, because that's the reality of the new world.
It is.
People are constantly having to re-educate themselves.
Retrain, yeah.
Retrain, yeah, exactly. The world is changing so fast. Ross, this has been a fascinating conversation, full of great and helpful information, really useful stuff. And thank you so much, first of all, for your service and your continuing service to the veteran community that often gets overlooked for a lot of things, but it should be really, these are men and women that have put their lives on the line for this country, and they deserve all of our respect. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you,
Really
sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. All right, folks, that's Paul Padda with another episode of the Paul Padda Podcast. We've had a great guest today. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care and be safe.
It's not about